Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Hartford Small Biz Ahead podcast. My name is Gene Marks. Thanks for joining me today. I am here with Daniel Coleman. Daniel is the creator of the enormously popular YouTube channel called Danny Go. This channel has 188,000 subscribers and tens of millions of viewers on Daniel's videos. One of them, The Floor is Lava, which is awesome. 22 million views. I never heard, honestly, Daniel, I'm 58 years old. My kids are grown. This is like a channel for kids. I've never heard of your YouTube channel before. And then I was like obsessed with it for like hours. It's awesome. So thank you for joining us. I'd like you to tell us a little bit, first of all, about yourself and how you got to where you are right now. And then for any of you guys watching or listening to this that want to go into YouTube, whether a full-time business or even just to expand your own business, I got a bunch of questions to ask Daniel about what he's learned and what advice that he must have. But Daniel, let's first start. Tell us your story because it's a great one.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me on, by the way.
Yeah.
I love talking YouTube and content and everything. So, kind of the quick story of kind of how I got to where I am is I live in North Carolina. I'm here, Charlotte, North Carolina area. Started working at Lowe's Home Improvement. It's kind of where my career started. And I was there for a really long time, like 13 years. Started as, I got a basic marketing degree, did some product marketing there, moved around into copywriting, into some content strategy, and then ultimately into production. So I was getting closer and closer to kind of being around cameras and everything through the years. So, through the work on the content team there is really where I just kind of fell in love with YouTube, because that
Right.
ended up being one of my main things there at Lowe's, and just really enjoyed it and worked on building an audience and setting content strategy. Eventually got in front of the camera a little bit, which is kind of a cool story in and of itself. Had a great boss that, I expressed some interest. I was like, hey, I'd kind of be willing to get in front of the camera. He's like, take a camera, here's some editing software, just go try something, and ended up making a series for them, just completely self-shot and self-edited and everything. And it was a lot of fun. It did actually pretty well and was really like kind of a confidence builder for me and what I was doing. And so a couple years doing the content thing there for Lowe's, decided to leave and do some freelance stuff. So that was actually all last year for me. A great friend of mine kind of helped me make that leap. I owe a lot to him. And kind of got me some clients off the bat so I could really do that on my own. And then as of
freelancing, if I can just ask, so freelancing as in doing video work, production work, or helping people get onto YouTube?
Kind of both. A little, kind of mostly consulting, but then ended up doing some production help too, and some shooting, and behind the scenes YouTube work. So a little bit of everything, just kind of taking what I had learned there at Lowe's. And then all the while, at Lowe's and during that consulting period, we had started the Kids Show channel. About in 2019, me and two of my best friends growing up just got together one night. One of my friends had seen the videos I was doing for Lowe's. He has young kids. I have young kids. He kind of knows how I am around kids and I'm silly and whatever. And he's watching stuff on YouTube with his kids. And I think he just kind of connected the dots of like, you can do YouTube and in front of a camera, you're good with kids. I'm seeing an opportunity in kids content, frankly, on YouTube. So, credit to him. He was kind of like, dude, have you ever thought about doing a kids channel? And so it kind of stirred around my brain a little bit. We ended up just talking it out. These are guys that I had a lot of like production experience with growing up. I was in a band with them. So it was a lot of music-based stuff already, which is ultimately kind of what led to what Danny Go is now, which is largely music, kids music. So we just experimented. And honestly, that's already I feel like a tip for anybody curious about YouTube, I guess video in general, but specifically YouTube. You just got to try stuff. And so that's what we did for a couple of, we knew what we were able to do. We had a lot of great kind of production capabilities, specifically on the music side. We learned more on the editing side, but nothing crazy. Just started learning what it means to be a kids creator. Got better at it, followed kind of what was popping, and kind of led us to where we were today, which, the fun part is, as of this year, January 1st, I ended my consulting gig and I am full-time for a kids channel on YouTube, which I never thought I would say.
That's amazing.
So
yeah, it's amazing. So there is no like formal launch, of Danny Go. There was no business plan. It sounds like it was just like it just evolved organically.
Yeah.
And you just started kind of producing stuff, throwing it out there, and then just getting better and better and better, until you sort of hit a groove as to what you want to do. You would spend all that time at Lowe's, and you would sort of cut your teeth in like the video and the production world. Like, we talk about advice that we give you. I mean, is what you do something like anybody can like just jump into and do, or do you think that it's like really helpful if somebody really wants to make a go at having their own YouTube channel or creating a business on that platform? Do you
Yeah.
think it makes sense for them to maybe work in a corporate, marketing department, or or do you think that's not worthwhile?
I mean, I don't think it's a prerequisite at all.
Yep.
I think you totally can. I mean, it worked great for me again as like a confidence thing, and also I was using had access to equipment that I maybe wouldn't have if I was just starting out. But I mean, the beautiful thing about YouTube, what I love about it is it really is they call it a meritocracy, right? Like you can if the concept's good. I mean, you can do so much with your phone. You really don't have to overinvest in the productions. I mean, depending on the content, of course. If you're
Sure.
trying to feature films or something, that's a different story. But if you're creative with it, the bar is really so low, and the best concept, the best personality, really can build a following fairly quickly on there. So, I mean, yes and no. I think you could probably make it work in a variety of origin states. It worked out for me that way because, again, I had some great people to encourage me there early on. But
Okay.
no, I think you could do it as a moonlight thing on the side, completely apart too.
Um, a lot of times people ask me about starting up businesses, and when I started up my business, I had a full-time job, and then I just was doing it part-time, and I was putting in like 60, 70-hour weeks. Like I like finished work, and then I went to work on my other business till I got to a point where I could, evolve. And you said you just made this transition to full-time, but was it like that for you? Like there was a period of time where you were doing the channel, you're also doing your video production. You were working a lot of hours, I'm assuming,
Oh my
right?
goodness. Yeah. Yeah. I guess, yeah, that's probably, I don't know. That's probably a pretty common story. If you've got like a passion thing, you're usually already doing something else. So yeah. And that's the lovely thing about this year. It's been so wild to me to fully be able to devote my mind to the kids
Yeah.
show. It's like, it is so freeing. And I'm still doing pretty long, especially on edit weeks for me. It's still like,
Yeah.
like double weeks of what Lowe's would have been, but it's a lot different feeling when it's your own thing. And any business owner would probably say that. Like it's a different kind of investment level, and it's you're so differently passionate. It's not that I didn't hate my job at Lowe's, but it is different when it's your own thing. But yeah, there's some sweat equity in those years. A lot of late nights when I'm doing the Lowe's thing, trying to make sure I'm doing a good job there. I need to focus kind of during regular hours there, but trying to
Right.
build something. There's kind of no other way to do it than redline for a while, I feel like.
How'd you sell this idea to your wife? I mean, she's got to be all in on this, right? I mean, you're
Yeah,
working a lot of hours.
truly. I know it is. Yeah, it's like you laugh at it, but it is true. I mean, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't, if you have a family or any kind of situation like mine, it wouldn't work without the support of a significant other. So she's great. I mean, I think, as it's grown, the investment has grown too. And it makes sense. If nothing was happening with it and I was wanting to do 80-hour weeks every week, we'd probably be like, hey, probably not worth it, Daniel. Like maybe let's scale this back and be with your family or something. But yeah, I feel like it's kind of naturally risen with this is getting viable. This is becoming legitimate. Like
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and I think again this year has been a lot more fun just because my mind is not so scattered. I am able to take breaks, and the nature of this is a lot different than the 8 to 5 hours at Lowe's. Like when I'm on, it's crazy, and I'm up till 3 a.m. editing or whatever. But then I'll have times like we kind of split the editing work with one of the other guys I'm with, so I have some down weeks too, where I can hang out around the house. I'm fully from home now too, so I'll play bananagrams with my wife in the morning and just hang out. It's like I like that it's a little more variety than kind of that straight no block thing.
I'm a CPA, so I'm a financial guy, and this is a startup story. And so, does your wife, and again, if you don't feel like answering or whatever, just, it's completely cool. But does your wife have a full-time job as well? Like, does she work elsewhere? A lot of time people start up businesses, like health insurance is like a big deal, So usually it's like one of the spouses has it through their company and then the other person can take a, is that a similar situation with you? Like you're able to leverage what you had?
No, but I feel like, I mean, my story is a little unique. I don't have to go crazy into detail, but I will say, so my eldest son, I have two boys, 11 and 7. My oldest son has had a lot of medical stuff in his life. I'll leave it at that. He's had a kidney transplant, bone marrow transplant, tons of surgeries. He has a lot going on.
Okay.
And so, that was a huge factor for me at staying with Lowe's because they take great care of you and it's consistent. That's one of the pros of being, a lot of people at corporations would cite that as a pro, right? You've got the consistency, you've got insurance pretty nailed down. So I would be lying if I said I didn't think about going off on my own a lot earlier than I did, but it was never the right time. There was too much going on with him. And that's just what we have. That's life. There was nothing we could do to change that. So we kind of waited. My wife was home full time with them. She's done some pretty cool like side gigs, but wasn't anything where she was getting insurance. So it wasn't something where I could lean on what she was getting there. So that was a timing thing, and we've had a lot of discussions about it. It's just kind of a weird thing that insurance is linked to your work.
It is.
I mean, I get it, and there's no easy answer, but I had a lot of discussions about, oh man, if we were in like a different scenario in a different country, it's like there's a little more of a different take on it where you're not as dependent on staying at that place.
Don't even get me started. My wife is from England, and we have that conversations all the time. I mean, their system is far from perfect, but there is a real strong argument to be made for national health insurance, which just gives people the ability to take risks and do things, not have to worry. Because health insurance is usually like a huge factor for people that they have to consider when they start things up. All right. Let's get into the show itself, right? So it doesn't happen. You mentioned before about like, well, you take an iPhone and it's not that. I've seen your videos. There is a ton of production that goes into this. I think there's multi-cameras that are being used. There is, and then there's got to be a ton of post-production in this. So again, and this is like, again, you're talking to people that might want to go into this themselves. Go ahead, like talk them out of it right now.
How bad it is.
Yeah, like tell them what is involved so people know the facts going into something like this.
Okay, yeah, for sure. I mean, the caveat at the top is though there's no one way to do it, right? Like you could do the cell phones. It's just not what we've created as a brand. We've kind of like boxed ourselves in this corner of being very extra for a kids show, and actually is kind of part of what we do. Like we take a lot more time than we probably even needed to at the beginning to like get the songs well produced. And the edits have become monsters for us, but you don't have to do that. I mean, it really depends on what you're trying to do. If you're doing some basic like instructional content, it can be you in front of a camera. It's just our stuff has taken on a form that, it's not easy to produce. We're doing currently, it's like a new video song, like new video and song every 2 weeks. And that is like that is us really booking it to do it. That's very difficult. But I mean, it's what we've committed to. We're having fun with it. It's just there's not a lot of slides. Like a video comes out, we'll celebrate for a day, and it's like, all right, well, it's time to get to the next one.
And then you get right back to what it reminds me is like whenever I hear people that worked on like Saturday Night Live, and they would be like they work all week, they do the show live on Saturday, and then like that following Monday morning they're back in it working on the next show for the it's like it's never ending, right?
I know that kind of. Or whatever, sidebar, I guess, but that kind of has its own, like you have to make sure you're celebrating what you're doing. Because it is a little bit, YouTube can be a little bit of a rat wheel of success, right? I mean, because you do have to sometimes step back and be like, we're doing okay. Like, this is good. I'm like, you have to have a contentment in your heart, even if you got to keep the drive too. That's it. It's a balance of the two things. I'm definitely always wanting to keep pushing, but sometimes taking a step back and enjoying what you've built and celebrating a little bit. So we're constantly trying to figure out that rhythm, making sure we're doing both.
Tell me about the investment that you had to make in this. And again, you have to be like specific dollars, but you leave the job, you've got equipment that has to buy. There's lack of income for a while. You said you have partners as well. I don't know if you have any employees at this point, but tell me how that worked.
So equipment wise, I mean, I guess we did make some investment. We were fortunate early on that we got a good little lump sum of cash from, we got like some streaming deals. So we made some episodes for a streamer, a smaller streamer. And it, wasn't like everybody quit your job money, but it was like good enough money for a lot of what we used it for was equipment upgrades. Now we're still talking, I mean, I don't mind talking numbers just so people get it. Like probably 10K in production, like cameras. We had upgraded camera. When we started, I had like a real basic camera. Again, it wasn't a phone. It was a step up from a phone, but not much. So we got some Sony gear and some decent lenses, but we're still maybe 10 or 15K in. And this is after we've been rolling for a while and had at least a little bit of capital from Danny Go. So it wasn't coming out of just, my wallet.
Right.
So I don't know if that range is helpful, if that sounds scary or not. I think that's probably on the low end because you could obviously go invest a lot more, or less for sure.
So you said earlier on in this conversation that so we started making videos and then it's not too hard to build a following. And that is absolutely incorrect. It is really hard to build a following.
I say that? Okay, you're right. That is.
It's so no big deal. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I talk to that are they're killing themselves making videos and 14 people watch it. So tell us, what's the secret sauce? Like, what's the magic in building a following for brand new? No one's ever heard of you. I mean, you're coming from Lowe's, for God's sake. It's not even like you're a celebrity or a singer or something like that. How, what advice do you have for building a following?
You're right. I will redact that because it's not easy. And I would have been mad at that guy if I watched this like 3 years ago. Yeah. I think the advice is to experiment and look for reaction spikes. If I had to boil it down, you got to be willing to just try some stuff, have the time, equipment, space, whatever. It doesn't have to be much, but try some stuff and just look for those early signs of anything. It's not going to probably be a million views. Like it's not going to be that big of a spike, but even just a couple of people saying, whoa, like, I mean, in our case, like my kid really enjoyed that part or whatever, like just little nuggets to hold on to, or even people around you. I guess you wouldn't have to wait for online, comments. Just ask people around you, might get an idea. But I think that was something good I learned at Lowe's because we tried a lot of stuff in developing that content strategy. And I think, a big takeaway was invest in the things that are working. I mean, it sounds simple, I guess, but that was kind of a constant thing that we were kind of trying to, educate around the organization a little bit of you don't want to just do a scatter shot. I mean, maybe at first to see what comes back, but if you see a little spike here and a little spike there, like really, really build on that, take it to that next step, see if that keeps spiking. So it's just a little bit of a test and learn philosophy, I think. I mean, it's like you said, it is magic. You use the word magic, and it kind of is. And it's honestly, it is a lot of luck. There's definitely a lot to learn of the algorithm in YouTube. I feel like a student of it still, even after years at Lowe's, like trying to play with it, and now years with Danny Go. I know it pretty well, but.
So a couple questions on that as well. So first of all, you say about getting feedback is super important. I'm assuming you looked at the comments, but you're also asking other people, and you learn that from those. I mean, so you have to grow a little bit of a thick skin because I'm sure some people are really like, well, that kind of sucked, but that was really great. So you're right, and you're like, okay, and fair enough. And then also, I guess you had to put your emotions aside a little bit, because there were probably some stuff you were doing that you were like, oh my God, I love that. And I can't believe people are saying that wasn't working. Did that happen too?
Yeah. And honestly, there's a scenario right now where that's currently the same. So I told you we worked with a streamer. We did like 22.5-minute episodes,
right?
Which all three of the, me and the two guys that are kind of the main partners, they're like close to our heart because it's a lot more storytelling. What we're doing, what you'd see on YouTube, you probably saw is like songs.
Goofy.
It's gone banana. Like that's what's been rewarded for us.
Yeah.
And the episodes haven't to a greater degree. They do take a lot more out of us production wise too. So I think with looking at both of those factors, it's like we may love this. We love what it is for the brand. It takes us 5-6 times as long to make one, and it does easily 6 times worse, way worse, even after trying a few. So it's like, who are we doing this for? And I guess there may be some scenarios where you just want to make it for the library or whatever. But in our case, we're trying to get to sustainability and paying bills and making this a valid thing. So you can't hold on too tight to those. I mean, you want to give it enough fair shot. I guess that's the caveat. There's caveats to all this, but like, you don't want to quit after one, maybe if it didn't work. Like, you do have to give it a fair shot, but then you also have to be honest with the data and just say, it's not, even if it's doing okay, it takes us way longer to do, and we can do way better and grow way faster in this other medium that still is our brand. You're not, it wasn't us giving up and doing something completely off.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's hard, and I there's something in me that wants to return to those. So maybe, if that applies to somebody else, it's like, that content just maybe not right now. Like, maybe just shelve the idea. If it's a great idea, you love it. Maybe some people dig it, but it's just not getting that scale. You don't have to trash it. Maybe just hold on to it. Maybe you just need a broader platform to launch it from. Like, maybe it's just not one of those fast starters. So do something else that maybe has a quicker takeoff, and you could come back to it later.
Literally, Daniel, like, I was listening to this interview with Barry Weiss. She's like, in the media, and she was interviewing a guy named Rick Rubin, who is like this super famous record producer. I mean, he's produced everybody from the Beastie Boys all the way through Taylor Swift. He's been whatever. And his it was just, and I have to say this because it was the opposite of what you were just saying now, but it's important. I know he was like, nope, you don't listen to your audience. Because she was asking him, like, how do you pick, the music? Is it, you want to make something that, people are going to buy? And he's like, no, I always go on my own, instinct. If I like it, that's all that matters, And okay, I get that if you're like some kind of a, artist and you're at that level, and I get that. But can we all agree that, what you're doing it's entertainment and it's fun and it's content and it's a business, So, and I think that's the message for people watching or listening to this. If you're going to be putting content out there, I mean, unless you're Shakespeare or, that you're so tied into your art, you're running a business, you're trying to provide it. So you have to listen to the feedback and make adjustments to what's going to sell, right?
Yeah, I've never subscribed to that mentality.
Yep.
People say, I get it. I get the phrase, don't read the comments, but I'm always like, but I am in entertainment. I felt the same at Lowe's, and now with Danny Go, it's like, you got to have thick skin, and comments can make you feel wacky and you lose confidence. So you gotta know what you're doing and know it's good or whatever, but you got to know how people are reacting. It's data. It's qualitative, quantitative stuff. Like, it's numbers, and it's looking at what people are reacting. I don't know how you could ignore that unless you're just,
I agree. And it's
level where you're killing it, and maybe whatever you put out is just going to do good. Like, maybe there is an echelon that you could get to. But I certainly don't feel that way. I feel like, we have videos that will do far worse than others, and we examine that. It's not like we'll be like, I want to make it again because we want to. It's like, why are we feeling that? Was the intro 3 seconds too long? Do we need a logo in there? Like, we're losing retention there. It's too much. Like, we go deep on why something may be underperforming, because I don't know. That just makes sense to me. If you want to optimize, I don't see how else you'd do it. So
I agree. And you're running a business. You got bills to pay, and you're,
it's not art. I mean, it can be art, but it's paying the bills.
You mentioned earlier about when we were talking about like growing your audience and how the challenge in doing that. You mentioned about like you could spend all day on YouTube's algorithms, because they're so complex. Yeah. What does that mean? What are YouTube's algorithms? Like, why would that be important for somebody like yourself? And how are you using these algorithms?
I mean, because at least on YouTube, you're dependent on them to a pretty large degree of serving your video up. It's like, even we saw that at Lowe's. Like, Lowe's had over 1 million subscribers, but it's like, if it's not the right video, if you put out a video that just isn't right, it's not to the right audience, it doesn't mean it's not going to get served to those 1 million people. Even though these are hand raisers saying they're in there, it could still get 5,000 views if it's not the right topic, not the right video. So it's like, you can build an audience, but you don't always have access to that audience if you're just doing whatever you want. So it's just, we always just say, we got to think like Google. We got to think, okay, they're for better or worse, in the business of selling ads. So, you can start there, try to think like them. What's going to make them serve this video up over another one? first off, retention is a person sticking around on their platform. The last thing I want is someone leaving YouTube. So if my video makes them click away and go do something else, it makes sense why Google will be like, I don't want to serve that anymore. Like that is sending people away from our website. So there's just some like basic stuff of getting your mindset into that. Now, I mean, I guess it could feel slimy if you're just like purely playing that game. You obviously have to balance it with your brand. You're having fun. You're making fun songs. So it's a balancing act, but it's a big factor in what you do, at least.
So, okay. So just taking that, you have a video called "The Floor is Lava." Okay. Yeah. There's 22 million views. Now I checked. I'm not seeing a lot of searches on YouTube for lava or floor, So how does that, you know what I mean? When you talk about algorithms, why would a video like that, do you think, be so popular and even get the people YouTube's attention to serve it up? Like, what is and you probably don't know for sure, because who does, but what theory do you have as to why videos like these that you do get run by YouTube so frequently?
Yeah, I mean, we have theories. You're right. They're always theories. Sometimes they're like clear theories, and sometimes like we have no idea. I mean, I think with that, in the kids space, I will say that actually was a pretty, like, the term "the floor is lava" was a term that was out there, be it from the show. I mean, the game is kind of a child's game that's been around anyway. And we've got some basic plugins, some software that we use that does kind of tell you some of the trending topics for kids stuff. So we're looking on there a lot of times to see what kind of fun, not to copy stuff, because we're kind of like, our heart is to make original stuff. So we don't want to go the route of just purely playing that system, but also just seeing what's doing well. General dance, things like that, topics, ABC, whatever. So we did see that term was a high one, and there was volume there to justify it. I think we use that as more a checkbox on our ideas. It's not like we start there, but it's like we have an idea for a cowboy song we did. We'll go and be like, well, wait, does anybody care about cowboys? Like, let's see. If not that it's like the giant thing, because sometimes you got to do stuff that's a little farther down the funnel to kind of keep your offering nice and wide. But at least see, is there some volume there? Is it worth the time to produce the song, make the video, all that? And in that case, there was, and that was a smaller one than "Floor is Lava" if you were looking at it, but we justified them both because we're trying to, make a.
That makes complete sense, and it is. So it's very much keyword driven on YouTube. I mean, it's the second most searched platform other than Google, and it's all about keywords. And you use certain tools, and there are plenty of them that are out there that can help you search for keywords that you think would be popular, and then I guess you build that into your content as well. So that is super helpful. And before I even leave that topic, when you do choose topics that might be of interest that you think would garner some attention on YouTube, is it enough that you have it in a title of your video, or if you're saying those words during the course of your video, does YouTube also pick that up as well? Does it know that you're saying these things?
Yeah, this is relevant. We've having these talks a lot because the algorithm is ever changing, right? And so a couple of years ago, I don't know, maybe I don't know when, but I just know it's not this way now. But like back in the day, you could really game the metadata, so the tags, the titles, all that stuff. If you kind of like did it just right, you could really go crazy. YouTube, I think wanted to make the content the thing that makes it do well, not just because somebody could write just the right tags.
Right.
So they've said this. This isn't just conjecture. Like they have updated it so you can't really game it. That's not to say titling, tagging doesn't matter at all. It totally does. And we take a lot of time on that. But it's purely like positioning, making sure YouTube, like, you guys know what this is, right? It is "The Floor is Lava." Like you're thinking of like, I'm telling Google what this video is, more than like I'm sneaking into the algorithm, because they've really worked on like the factors, I think, being retention. They tell us that if you can keep somebody in there, if you can keep them even in the first 5-10 seconds, again, so they can sell ads, then they're going to reward you. And so it's more, so that speaks to quality, because you can't really game that. You can play around with the tags, but to keep somebody on a song for even 3 minutes, it's kind of no small task in the kids world, at least. Like you got to make sure it's interesting. The pace has to be. We can't really have a lot of down moments in there. So I like that as a team that really is trying our best to make like higher quality stuff. Like it's kind of just part of what we're trying to do. I feel like it helps us because I think that's honestly a higher bar for competitors versus just if it was a tagging war. It's like, well, I don't know. I'm guessing a little bit. You may have better tools. But if it's truly about like the better video being the one that keeps people around and keeps them on the platform watching more videos, then it's like, oh, okay, that seems like almost a purer method of rewarding a video. And so we see that as a positive. But yeah, don't hear me saying it doesn't matter. We definitely take our time with it, but I don't think it's the end all be all. And I don't think you have to go crazy comparing, especially with tags in particular. They even have that on there now when I upload a video. It's like, I forget what it says, but it's basically like, don't put all your stock in this. Like literally just tag it so people can find it with if it's spelled weird or something like that. I think they're trying to keep people from wasting their time gaming it down there.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the AI and the transcription tools are so advanced right now that there's no question that they're able to extract, the content from the video itself and then use that as part of its algorithm. So that makes a lot of sense. Okay. We're almost out of time here. You've been awesome. I have like just two more questions for you. I have to as well, you've been focused, you're doing everything right. And you've focused on Google's algorithms and getting the content right and listening to your audience and getting the feedback and making your adjustments. Have you promoted your videos at all on YouTube? Have you spent money with YouTube? Yeah, a little bit of it. Everybody does. Everybody does, right? So
those early on. Again, I mean, I guess we could do it now. Now we're at a scale where it doesn't feel like we're having to evangelize it. Like nobody's seeing this. Like we love this video, but nobody has seen it. So I feel like in that phase, I tried just a few little campaigns, like not much money at all. But just see and watch what happens. See, does anyone even care? Is it getting outside of the target at all? I'm such a content and organic guy. I'm probably the wrong guy to talk to about ad stuff. I knew very basic what I was looking for there, but honestly, for me, I didn't see it performing. So we kind of stopped it after the first year and just focused on let's try to build up the true audience here, the unpaid audience.
Final question for you is, you crushed it, right? And this has been like a year, would you say that this has been going on since, about a year or longer than that?
The kids show?
Yeah.
We started in 2019. I would say the turning point for us was last summer's as far as it actually getting scale and starting to really take off. So it was bubbling for a few years, but now about a year of seriousness.
So what's your future? It's a fickle world.
Yeah.
Obviously people see your success. You're going to have competitors, coming after you. As smart as you are, the well runs dry for new, there's how many floors lava, has lava or is lava videos can you do?
Yeah.
So what are you thinking about? Are you thinking 5 years ahead right now or 10 years ahead? What's keeping you up at night?
We are. And we actually, it's an exciting time for us because we are finally starting to because we're seeing the scale there, we're thinking this is viable. Where does that go? We actually just hired a new business manager, just a couple of weeks ago, and she is incredible. She was she found us as a fan, which was super cool. So she kind of already knew at a base level from the get-go what we were up to, enjoyed it, kind of reached out, and it just worked. She has a lot of great experience that really fills the gaps of what we didn't have. We're full on into production, YouTube, making the videos. She kind of is everything else. So she's got plans. We're talking, live shows. I think for us would be super cool. We get asked that a lot, and we're always bummed to just say right now, we don't have the time because we're just trying to kind of grow the scale to a sustainable place. And we're getting there. But it's definitely on the horizon to be able to actually go and interact in real life. That's the only bummer, I guess, about YouTube, and especially kids YouTube, is you're really limited on any kind of communication with your audience. That's why I have to look so hard at the data, because I'm I don't know. You can't. The comments are disabled on every kid video, so I can't hear there. We have our social accounts that we will hear from the moms that kids are enjoying it and stuff, see videos of them dancing. So that's important to us. But on the YouTube side, it's pretty tricky to have any true one-to-one. But that's where it's very exciting to think about actually meeting the audience and getting to that point. So that's on the horizon, not that far away, I think. But I would say, to your question about how many floors lava is, I get that question from my dad all the time in a very well-intentioned way.
It's definitely a dad question to ask, I would think,
he sees his son, leave a steady corporate job to do a kids channel. And he's kind of like, "Are you like running out of ideas?" That's like what I hear when he says. The cool thing about kids stuff, the thing I love about kids stuff is you can just take two things and combine it and be silly. There's just so much like fun silliness to it that like coming from even an editing style too. Like I can just put crazy, fun, colorful stuff on the screen, and it's fun. And some of these like backgrounds are so lush, and there's stuff going on. It's stuff I didn't get to do as much in the corporate world. That it's like you just have a lot more fun with it. And we try to remind ourselves that if we're ever getting bogged down in an edit with a ton of layers to it, it's like at the end of the day, this is for kids to have fun with. So like, if we should probably keep that element in our editing, like kind of smiling as you're making the thing fly across the screen. So I feel not too worried about like getting to the end of the creative well for us, because I really feel like kids stuff especially is bottomless. I mean, you could have so much fun forever with random topics, silly topics, everything. It's kind of cool.
I have to tell you, I've interviewed and continue to interview a lot of startup founders, and 2 or 3 years into it, they look like they have been dragged through the mud.
Yeah.
You look great. You're having like a ball doing this. So you got to be doing something right?
Thank you. Yeah, I hope it. Yeah, if you got to the point where it was draining, you got to follow the fun, right? I mean, I guess, not that it's all going to be fun, but to a degree, you're following your passion, following the fun. Sure. So thank you.
Daniel Coleman is the host, the founder, the man in the brains and the energy behind Danny Go, a very, very popular YouTube channel. Watch it, check it out, particularly if you have kids. Even if you don't, it is really a fun channel to watch. Daniel, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
That was a lot of fun. And everybody, you've been watching the Hartford Small Biz Ahead podcast. My name is Gene Marks. If you need any advice or help or tips to help you run your business, please join us at smallbizahead.com or sba.thehartford.com. Again, my name is Gene Marks. Thanks for watching or listening. We will see you again soon. Take care.